Hey! Hey, girl!
That's my family. Okay, now I need to break the ice with you guys, or else I'm gonna get like super nervous. So I'm just like acting a fool for a sec. But so my name is Geeslin, and I'm a senior here at Heritage. And my video is called Curly Cues, and it's about poetry and how it's affected my life. So I hope you guys like it.
So, poetry is probably the most important aspect of my life because I feel like without it, I would not be sitting here. When I was 15 years old, I was being bullied in school. And I've always been the type of person to wear my natural hair, no makeup, and I'm a very, I guess, Afrocentric person. And I've always been that way. When I was 15, I never thought that being that way would take a negative turn on me. I always was told by my mom that having curly hair, being darker skinned is a beautiful thing and something to be proud of, and that we are made the way we are without mistakes. And being 15, a teenage girl, that's hard to believe when the taunting voices are so loud and constant and overbearing. They actually won over what my mother told me because they outdid her in numbers, and it just kept coming. So I eventually just lost sense of self and went into a very suicidal funk. I forgot my self-worth, and I lost track of what I believed in. I used to pray every night, but that was the year I stopped because I stopped hearing the answers to what I prayed about. Because what I prayed about, the issues that came with that, they were the only things that I was hearing, and it blocked out the sound of everything else. I was living in Vegas at the time, and I was going to a school there, and the teacher that I used to talk to about things recommended that I jump into poetry. And since I was a very soft-spoken person at the time, I needed a vent, and poetry was that for me. And a lot of times when I'm writing poetry or when I'm feeling like I'm falling, and I feel that way a lot, I use the metaphor of my curly hair to help me through it. Curls, they're spirals and shapes of circles. Circles remind me of cycles. Cycles, you start one place, get to another place, and end up back where you started. I look at my curls as a reminder that when I lose my faith in my God, that there's always faith in finding it again. And whenever I lose my strength, there's always faith in finding it again. And then I do. So when I see curly hair, when I read about curly hair, when I write about it, when I use it as a metaphor for people who sometimes don't understand it, it means a lot to me because it really stopped me from walking right off the edge. And I was really afraid because I really thought that I was going to do it. There was one night, a little after Christmas, financially, my family and I, we weren't okay. Personally, we weren't okay. At school, things just absolutely weren't okay. And personally, obviously, I wasn't okay. So I wrote a poem that I actually still have. I don't know why I still have it, but I wrote it. It was a poem to all my friends and my family, pretty much saying goodbye. So I walked into the kitchen that night. I grabbed a knife and I just sat there for about 3 hours just looking over that poem. And I actually wrote something about my curly hair. I don't know why I wrote it, but I wrote something along the lines of, curly hair reminds me of the cycle from angriness, from anger, back to my peace. And I read that, and I knew that where I was sitting at that moment in the kitchen with that knife and my goodbye letter, that I wasn't gonna do this. That I know that I'm so much more than what I was going through at that time. And something I always tell people when they ask me about my poems, I always tell them that I write to remind myself that at this point in my life I am happy. I write to have a written record of everything that I still have to smile about. And whenever I feel locked up in this cage of uncertainty or disappointment or lack of self-worth, I can always turn back to poetry to remind myself exactly how to get out. And that's what poetry means to me.
I guess it's my turn to share some poetry with you guys. Just like Alejandro before me, we were really trying to get the poetry club going, but for some reason, I guess priorities didn't happen, so hopefully we can do something about that. Alright, so my poem, it's a slam piece. It's called Curly Peas. It's titled after my video, and I think it follows with it very well. So, yeah. Hope you guys like this too. Alright. Curly Peas. Every curl on your dorky head is a constant reminder of where I've been. They tell a story that we both know, oh so well now. It's a sad one, so brace yourself. When I was 6, I got my first pair of K-Swiss kicks, walking around with a switch, those 5 white stripes and mimicking Adidas made me think that I was it. You see, I was a curly kid then. My hair twisted and looped in all directions, depicting my quirky innocence the same way your curls depict yours, except now a little less innocent, a lot more rebellious, and a hell of a lot more cynical, but worry not, baby. Your curls allow me to see the kid in you. When I was 8, I got into a bike accident. Now, it was a bicycle, so don't trip. I was flying fast and floating free until I hit a speed I wasn't ready for. Lost control right into a tree, lost my breath, bruised my knee, and scarred my innocence. An area that no one knew about. My injury made it headline news, and I felt like my secret was out. I didn't know what a period was until then. I didn't know my body could shed from the inside out. I felt like crying and dying because I felt inside out. Emotionally, I was all twisted up. I guess as you would put it, I was so messed up. Your curls reminds me that I can laugh at it now. I was 8 when I had my first period. Like, calm down, little me. Who I used to be. It was just hormones. When I was 9, I straightened my hair. The curls had to go, and I moved away from home, had to reinvent, for I had no vent to scream into when they'd laugh at me. They'd say, ew, her hair is nappy, her skin is dark, and her knees are ashy. But Mama told me that God made no mistakes on me. Black is beautiful. They were jealous, and I should be happy. I didn't believe her. I didn't believe her. For the name-calling was loud, constant, and overbearing. I was 9 years old, so insecure and alone that I allowed the taunting voices of prepubescent girls to block out the once healing voice of God. And let me tell you, baby, that when I admit that to myself, all of these years later, I cry for little old me. I lost him 9 years ago, and I haven't heard him in my prayers since. Your curls remind me that life is a cycle, and with a little hope, I may find him again. I was 16 when I rediscovered my beauty. I returned to the curly hues and the vivacious afro, only to find that no matter how pretty I felt, the world will always throw jabs at me. Your curls remind me that it's not about what I go through, but about how strong I am while getting through it. Your curls remind me of a sort of strength and beauty that all Black women carry. Your curls remind me that somewhere out there, there's a curly-headed boy singing the same song as me, who will feel the same static no matter how we change the frequency. Your curls mean the world to me. Your curls remind me to smile because I just keep forgetting, and you know what that means to me. I was 17, and I was faced with a decision. Do I stand strong or allow the weight of the world to let me fall? All of my life I've been walking tall until I realized that I was surviving. I forgot to live. I was giving out, shutting down, but then you told me about autumn and her changing leaves. How life ran its course, and no matter how she tried, she couldn't help it when the wind took its toll. It shook her bare, and you watched her fall. You remind me that no matter how the seasons change, we must remain strong and carry on. You told me about your religion and discrimination, teaching me that words hurt just as much as sticks and stones, but you have to know that deep in your bones, if you stay faithful, your Savior will bring you home, wherever that'll be. And now, that's funny, because home was never a place for curly kids like you and me. It's a state of mind and peace that is fabricated through years of adversity and misplacement, because no matter what house we lived in, it was never long enough to call it a home. But we spent so much time dreaming of what it could be in our heads. It's only real to us up there.